Up to mighty London came an Irishman one day. As the streets are paved with gold, sure everyone was gay, singing songs of Piccadilly, Strand and Leicester Square, till Paddy got excited, then he shouted to them there, "It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know."
Welcome to My Historic Life with myself, Marcy DeCunha, as your host, and Neptune, my favorite red-bone coonhound. We are here today in Hullett Marsh, located in central Huron, Ontario. This place was established by Ducks Unlimited in cooperation with the Ontario government many decades ago, purchasing quite a vast sum of farmland and restoring it to incredible, immaculate wetland as well as forested terrain. This place is one that you can go hunting, you can go fishing, horseback riding, canoeing, hiking, anything you wish within proximity of Goderich, Stratford, Exeter, Wingham, and where I live, Clinton, Ontario. This is possibly one of my favorite places in all of Canada and one that I go to with Neptune quite often. Today, as you're seeing, it's a little overcast and quite a few mosquitoes, so my apologies if I seem a little disgruntled, as mosquitoes are quite something at the moment. We are here to look at Hullett Marsh to find out a little bit more about it and the thousands of acres that it has, the vast terrain that you'll encounter, as well as learn a little bit about hunting in the context of the 18th century. With me, as I noted, is Neptune, my, well, red-bone coonhound. This is a species of hunting dog that was originally developed in the southern United States by Scottish immigrants, roughly in the area of Georgia in the late 1700s throughout the earlier portion of the 1800s, established primarily around the 1830s as a recognized breed. Neptune's ability is able to track scents at great distances, locate them, and chase down the prey, either up a tree, when he's not making noise because he's a little nervous today, or stalking it at a distance. The only issue with these dogs is that they have no recall. Many red-bone coonhounds still have a reluctance to return until they've caught their prey. This is not always the case. They can be trained, though it is extremely difficult. Neptune is one of those, strong-headed ones. But today, like I said, we're going to be looking at equipment and hunting practices as it pertains to the period of the 18th century in North America and Europe. To start off, one of the things that we have to know is that the dogs have to be cared for quite well. They are a member of the family, but they have to be exposed to the outdoors so that they are able to do what they need to do, which is follow scents and be safe. As we are dealing with the 18th century, the 1700s, Neptune's actually using a collar that was made by myself, reproducing those of the period, with a brass plate with his name, leather around the neck, and a brass buckle with a hemp rope lead. Myself, I would be using him often off-leash when we get to the location that we need to find the necessary prey. If you are going to be doing any hunting in Ontario or anywhere else, please make sure that you have the necessary paperwork, licenses, and authorization. Hullett Marsh is a place that is in season at the moment for various species, and myself, I am licensed to carry firearms as well as to hunt in this area and throughout Ontario. As always is the case, we need to start off by looking at our equipment and clothing. What I'm wearing right now is the clothing of a Scottish immigrant, the type of person that would be common throughout the province of Quebec, which would include present-day Ontario. These individuals wouldn't always necessarily wear plaid. That's a bit of a historical inaccuracy, though plaid was part of their attire, and you will find this in the estate records as well as the store records of many individuals in the lower portion of Quebec, as well as in northeastern area of Ontario, which is now the province of Ontario. The clothing is specifically designed to keep you warm and keep you protected from the elements. As you're going to see, I'm covered in brambles right now, yet I'm perfectly comfortable. It's rather hot today, but the sweat is staying to the clothing and then slowly evaporating, cooling me off. As I have underneath a layer of linen, being the shirt that I'm wearing at the moment, this being a ruffled one, and then wool stockings that protect my legs with garters holding them up, as well as the bands of the breeches, the shorts-like garment that I'm wearing, and then my buckles. If you can see closely, I am wearing spatterdashes. These are coverings that go over my shoes to keep out brambles, dirt, and rocks to make sure that my feet are protected. With straight-lasted, that's shoes that are made with neither a right or a left. They're just straight. They adapt to one side or another after time. Straight-lasted shoes, buckled shoes. I am wearing a waistcoat cut in a rather fashionable pattern, straight across rather than dovetails, which you would see in the earlier period. And I have a jacket made out of wool, lined with linen. The buttons you'll see in the waistcoat are fabric covered, quite common, and the jacket itself has metal buttons, which are not uncommon, but less so than fabric covered buttons. Other options also include things such as thread buttons, death head buttons. My hat is a standard wool hat bonnet, which I actually produced from a wonderful maker. Her name is Sally Pointer, located in the United Kingdom, as well as the stockings, which I got from her. Wool stockings. They're incredible stockings, quite comfortable, fit quite well for my size. But other than the clothing, you have to make sure you have the right equipment, and that's what we're going to look at today. One of the first things you're going to have is some sort of firearm. In my case, we're talking about a musket. This is a smooth bore black powder flintlock musket, meaning that the barrel of the firearm is completely smooth. It's not rifled, so as you fire, the musket ball can bounce around a little bit or swerve as it comes out. It means that it's not the most accurate firearm, but myself within 100 yards, I'm quite accurate. Going up to 200 yards, it becomes extremely difficult to hit something such as a deer. The specific piece that I'm using here is a fusil de chasse. It is a hunting musket made by the French from, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the late 17th century, right through the 19th century, eventually becoming one with a percussion cap, not a flintlock. Flintlock mechanism works by having, obviously, the cock, which holds the flint. We then have the steel, which the cock will strike, creating a spark, which will ignite the powder that goes in the pan. And when it flashes in the pan, where the saying comes from, the flame will go through a little touch hole, igniting the powder in the barrel, launching the projectile out with the force of the gases that are now escaping. With this type of firearm, you can use a musket ball, or you can use bird and buckshot. For today's purposes, we will be using specifically birdshot. And again, I am licensed to be able to do this in this time of year, in this location, with this specific firearm, but we are not shooting at anything or anyone specific today. It is perfectly clear. To load your firearm, there's a very specific sequence that I will run through with you. The first thing you're going to do is make sure that your musket is, well, safe. In order to fire the firearm, you need to make sure you go through the right sequence. Right now, I have a frizzen cover, or hammerstall. This is well documented throughout Europe, in Britain, such as within the Moray paintings, as well as examples from Austria, Poland, and other such locations. This prevents the firearm from accidentally going off. But when you are firing, you need to make sure that you first take it off. So it is in a position where it is on, opening the pan, taking it off. I will then take some powder, let's say, such as with my priming flask. I will put the right amount. This is pre-measured, spring-loaded. I will then close the pan, making sure I am half cock, not full cock. I will then cast my musket about, pour in the powder. I will then put a musket ball, which would have a wad in most cases, piece of fabric that will allow you to seal it. I'll then take the rammer, ram down the projectile, remove it, put it back into the proper channels, making sure that my hand is safe. And then I am in a position where I can shoot. I can, as the military would say, make ready, moving the cock all the way back, presenting, my finger not on the trigger, aiming carefully, and then firing. When I do that, Strikes, spark, ignites the powder, sets off the powder in the barrel. The gases expand, firing my projectiles. If you are using a musket ball in this instance, you will first put powder down, measured appropriately. A musket ball with wadding, as I said, a piece of cloth or wool, put it down, set it, ram it, and then you are able to fire. If we're using shot, it's a little bit different. We will use our measured powder. We will then place a card, a circular piece of cardboard or paper down the barrel, making sure it's perfectly level. After that, we'll put in our shot, and then a wad, a piece of wool felting that will go over the top. It's almost like a modern shotgun shell. Once you're ready, you will prime your pan. You will make ready by setting it back, aim, and fire. Now that we looked at the fusil de chasse, the French hunting musket, we're going to look at a few others for comparison. The first one being the Shortland pattern musket. That's the British Brown Bess musket used in the American Revolution. This one also not being rifled, the smoothbore musket being 75 caliber, unlike the other one, which is a 68 caliber. This one has less intricate work. It's quite a reliable musket, though it's not quite as effective in terms of range. You can see here, shorter barrel, and again, smoothbore, no rifling. Compared to that, we have the later Hawken rifle. This is a half-stock Hawken rifle. These are common from the 1820s onwards. This rifled musket also uses black powder and a flint, as does both of its other counterparts, but it is a little bit more elaborate. It's far more refined. The rifling makes it quite an effective musket. I use this one personally for hunting when it comes to deer and other larger game. This one, of course, being smaller in caliber, but packing quite a punch and quite a substantial amount of velocity. This one is able to go with its 50 caliber round to 200 yards rather effectively, unlike the Shortland musket or the Brown Bess, which can hit a target at 100 yards, but it is rather difficult to do so accurately and at greater range. Both of these are quite effective for their purposes, quite excellent for hunting fowl when you're talking about the Shortland pattern musket, and exceptional for hunting larger game such as deer with the Hawken rifle. Both of them, yes, are a little dirty at the moment. Normally you'd keep them cleaner, though these were just used in another recording where I was demonstrating the use of all three firearms. Hopefully I'll have that for you in just a few weeks, comparing them to more modern firearms, such as a pump-action shotgun, as well as the Enfield rifle and the Mosin Nagant. What I'm using right now is actually a priming flask or a charger. This has sufficient powder in a finer grain to allow me to prime my firearm appropriately. I then have something very unique. We'll look at this closer later on. It's a shot snake or a shot belt. This has powder in one channel and it has shot in another. It is measured out so that you have the appropriate quantities with the special measuring cup on the sides. These are actually original. The belt itself is a reproduction made by myself. Sorry, I no longer make these. And it's patterned off of an original from roughly the 1790s, in my case, from this specific one that I have in my personal collection. I've made many of these in different variations, and they're quite something because it is perfectly measured. You're able to take the amount of powder and the shot that you need with the appropriate channel, and then you're able to shoot. Let's take a closer look at the equipment that we're making reference to when both loading and priming our firearms. The first one, my favorite piece, would be the shot belt or shot snake. This is a double. You can see here that it makes use of two chargers, one for the powder and one for the shot. This comes from my personal collection, which I have reproduced these using an original that I've actually obtained. Both for the pattern, as well as to cannibalize, because it's in rather poor condition, the chargers themselves, being able to measure a perfect amount of shot and of powder on a leather strap, creating a sealed container with a brass buckle. You're going to have to prime these, so you can make use of two different things, a powder horn or a powder flask. The powder horn can be used for priming as well as for loading your firearm. This is a standard civilian powder horn, nothing really fancy about it. Flask, a far finer piece, a gentleman's piece. This is an original on a woven, or rather I should say braided, wool cord. Moving on from there, we have a more substantial powder horn. This is a British light infantry powder horn from the period of the American Revolution. You could see a powder measure, this one being from horn, as well as a musket tool. And it is on a black and standard British military piece of belting with a tinned buckle. These are extremely difficult to find. Along with that, we have obviously a whisk and a pick to maintain our firearm as well. But this interesting piece is the ball bag. The ball bag may be used to hold your ammunition, extra ammunition beyond what you have in your cartridge box. And if you're using something of that nature for the purpose of hunting, you can also put shot in it. In all honesty, when I'm not using my shot belt or shot snake, I actually prefer this method. The powder is excellent for both priming and loading, as well as having a substantial amount of both bird and buckshot where appropriate with my measure and my tools. I have it marked off internally for both powder and for shot, the smaller amount being for shot, the larger amount actually being for powder, as I don't like too large a load when I'm hunting fowl with my short land, my actually preferred firearm for hunting waterfowl and geese with black powder. If I'm talking about something such as the Hawken, I don't need as much powder. The powder flask is excellent for that. But again, something such as my military hunting equipment works far, far better in most cases. All these are effective, but they depend on the impression that you have, as well as specifically what you are trying to go for and your personal preference. So now we're actually going to practice this. So what I'm going to do at the moment, as I want to make sure that we're perfectly safe, is that I'm actually going to use a pre-measured amount of powder and musket ball. So with me, we're going to go through the process. So we're making sure we're at half cocked now, with the pan open. We don't need that little end. Owing to the way I've set up this shot, I'm actually going to prime first, which is not recommended. Normally, in a hunting setting, you're going to load and then prime to make sure it's not going to accidentally go off. But I am priming in this case. Closing the pan, casting about. I am putting my powder. And then I am putting my round. It's taking a little bit of effort in this case. I'm ready to now ram it down. Takes a little bit of effort. We're turning into the channel and preparing to fire. So I'm at full cock. So now that we fired the musket, and of course I've had to reduce the volume so it doesn't interfere with the recording. Hopefully it still had the effect for you. We will be looking at some of the other equipment. We've looked at the charger. and we've looked at the shot snake, both of which use original elements, this one itself actually being an original. We'll now look at the game bag. The game bag is knitted. It is not crocheted or not macrameed, and it is made so that it can stretch out of linen thread. These are in different sizes, smaller for something such as a partridge or some sort of smaller duck, a larger one for obviously something such as a pheasant or for a rabbit or a hare. Once you've captured them, of course, you'll be putting them on your belt, the belt designed to hold them. So let's take a closer look at that hunting bag. As you see, the bag is on a beautifully made leather belt with a brass buckle. There are some examples of iron buckles, but those tend to rust, leaving quite a nasty mess behind. And then we have the bags themselves made out of linen that can expand beyond their standard size. So what you see here is not the final size. Period imagery shows a significant number of these. They're extremely common, and you'll find them in many advertisements, though very few sort of examples have survived to the modern era, partially due to the fact that these were very utilitarian piece, and owing to the fact that they do decompose rather quick owing to the nature of their materials. If you are hunting something like a deer or a boar or another creature that might not necessarily go down as quickly with a musket, you need to dispatch it. And that would be the humane thing to do. To do that, you have to have some sort of edged weaponry in order to dispatch the creature, to put it out of its misery. And for that, we do carry a hunting sword. This being a reproduction that I purchased from Quebec. It is a copy of a standard European hunting sword. It has a good chain to hold on your hand in case it is dropped. An excellent balance to it. And this one actually does have a steel blade, and it has a rather sharp point to it. This could be used. Thankfully, I've never had to use it when I have gone hunting with period equipment, but it could be the case that one day I might. And for that situation, we don't want an animal to suffer. We do have this. The belts that you can use can be rather elaborate, or they can be rather simple belts. I have a more elaborate one for when I'm using this sword for something such as going to an opera, and I have this belt for the sword when I'm putting it to its intended hunting use. When you are hunting in different situations, there are different tools that you do need as well. And one of them, if you are fox hunting, for example, which is of course illegal in many places with a horse, would be to use a horn. There are different sizes of horns. There are the larger ones, and there are smaller post horns. Post horns are normally reserved for, notifying someone that a carriage has arrived at its post. These were later adapted to be light infantry horns. If you look at certain paintings, you'll see that the horns are normally about a handspan across that are used by British light infantry. So in fact, the larger horns used by, let's say, Jaeger units or the larger British hunting horns would not be appropriate for that context, but they are for the purpose of hunting. First one we have is the post horn. Smaller, sharper sound. Please bear with me if it doesn't sound the best. Not quite the best with this. The next one is the traditional British hunting horn. Rather large, very well made, both of these being originals. Extremely loud, very low, deep sound. Once again. There are many different recordings for the signals that we would use. There is a book written in the late 1780s that I could reference for you later on in my notes that actually was used by German troops, and they do make it clear that they were using signals that the British officers were making use of from hunting. We do know that the British officers, as well as the Americans, hunted in the American Revolution, and that in many cases they make references to hunting and hunting American troops, often calling at them, and it is believed that those calls are the ones that they would have made use of for light infantry tactics, with the smaller post horn derived originally from the British hunting horn. So let's take a closer look at the horns that we were discussing. The first one is the standard British hunting horn. You can see here that it is brass, quite a substantial size, a little more cumbersome than what we have here. being the post horn. They come in copper and in brass, as well as a combination of both, depending on the manufacturer and really the style. You can see the post horn, again, used for signaling the arrival of your carriage or of a horse or a delivery. Is much smaller, less cumbersome, and it's quite effective for use by infantry units, particularly light infantry of some variety, to carry out their signals, whereas the hunting horn, far larger, much more deeper and louder sound, but harder to use. So now that we've finished looking at our equipment, demonstrating the musket and how these things are used, let's take a look at Hullett Marsh, one of the most beautiful places you'll ever encounter in southwestern and western Ontario. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this video informational. Hullett Marsh is an incredible place. You can go hiking here, you can go fishing, you can go hunting, horseback riding, canoeing, or you could just walk around and enjoy the wildlife. Moments ago, Neptune and I came across a massive grouping of different ducks, mallards, and it's probably at least 40 or 50 of them. So there's tons of things to see. He's quite eager to get in the water, but we're not going to let him do this today. So I think we'll say goodbye here. And thank you for watching the first episode of My Historic Life. Please keep on watching, subscribe, and we hope you enjoy our future videos. Starting off here in Hullett Marsh in Central Huron, just on the edge of where we live in Clinton, Ontario. One of my favorite places that I've ever lived. Take care and stay safe.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl.